And joining me right now is the Democratic candidate for governor in the state of Georgia, Stacey Abrams. Thank you so much for joining us. So Roe has been overturned. You're running to be governor of Georgia. What will this mean for your state?
In 2019, BrianKemp, the current governor, signed an extreme 6 weeks ban on abortion. That's 6 weeks, often before women know they're pregnant. And in Georgia, where half of our counties do not have an OBGYN, it can be that they won't find out they're pregnant until after it's too late to have this medical opportunity. We know that the right to choose should not be divvied up amongst states, and that the sinister practice of taking constitutional rights and allowing each state to decide the quality of your citizenship is wrong. Women deserve bodily autonomy. They deserve the right to make these choices. And in Georgia in particular, in a matter of days, this 6 week ban will be the law of the land. That is horrendous. That is appalling, and it is wrong. And as the next governor, I'm going to do everything in my power to reverse it.
We have all heard the polling statistic that about 2 in 3 Americans support Roe v. Wade, did not want the Supreme Court to overturn it. But as you know, polling on abortion is very complicated, and in more nuanced questions, most Americans support at least some restrictions on abortion overall. Do you think the government should play any role in restricting abortion? As governor, what restrictions would you be willing to support in Georgia, if any?
My first responsibility is to protect the life and the welfare of the women in this state and to make it safe for them to make medical choices. Those medical choices should not be governed by someone's religious or ideological convictions. And if we are going to make medical decisions, they should be made with medical input, not at the whim of politicians. I believe that Georgia should do what is right for the women of our state, and that the 6 week ban and that this derogation of our opportunity to make our own choices is wrong. I believe there should be federal law that allows women to have these choices, to have reproductive choice and reproductive justice. And I think that it has to stop being a political football where the ideology of the leader of a state can determine the quality of life for a woman and her ability to make the choices she needs.
Many businesses such as Disney and Netflix have expressed their opposition to the so-called heartbeat abortion ban in Georgia when it was passed in 2019. Do you think those companies should pull their businesses from Georgia when and if this abortion restriction goes into effect?
Let's be clear. This abortion restriction, this extreme ban, will take effect in a matter of days. The Attorney General and the governor have already gone to the 11th Circuit to ask for the stay to be lifted. I would tell every single business and every single woman that they should do what is best for the women who work for them. They need to make certain that they are accommodating the very real healthcare challenges that will face women in the state of Georgia. It is my hope that we will be able to reverse this law by passing new legislation in 2023, because we also know that BrianKemp intends to make it even more difficult for women. He intends to add incest and rape as prohibitions. He has already broken our healthcare system by refusing to expand Medicaid, and Georgia already has one of the highest maternal mortality rates in the nation. And so I would tell anyone, whether you are a business or a citizen thinking about being in Georgia, to take into very real consideration the danger that BrianKemp poses to the life and welfare of women in this state.
President Biden has vowed to protect women and girls' access to abortion pills and contraception, as well as their ability to cross state lines to seek an abortion if they want to. Republican state lawmakers across the country are already working to pass even further restrictions. Do you think what President Biden is doing is enough, or do you think he needs to do more?
I think President Biden should do what is within the purview of the executive. I believe that we need a legislative solution that restores the constitutional protection to women regardless of the state they live in. State lines should not determine the quality of your citizenship in the United States. We know that in Georgia, a law has already been proposed that would expand the restrictions in the state. We know that BrianKemp has already signaled his at least an ambiguity about how he feels about birth control and the laws that govern birth control access. And so it is very, very dangerous for women in Georgia right now. We need new leadership, and we need new leadership that can work with the President of the United States to provide the protections, to provide the health care, and to provide the sanity of good laws that can help women and their families thrive in our state.
There are a lot of progressives, as you know, who are calling on President Biden to expand the size of the Supreme Court. Do you think Biden should do that?
I know how the law works, and it is not up to President Biden. This is a choice that has to be made by our both executive and legislative branch, but I do think that we have to recognize that there's nothing sacrosanct about 9 members in the United States Supreme Court, but that is a long-term question. What we have to focus on right now is the danger that this Dobbs decision presents to women in the state of Georgia and across the country. As someone who is pro-choice and proudly pro-choice, I believe that we need leaders right now who are willing to defend who we are and defend the women under our care. We have to be deeply concerned about what is happening to our LGBTQ community, to people of color, especially Black women who face the highest rates of maternal mortality in the nation, and that is it's exacerbated in the state of Georgia. I believe that we need to do more. And I want the president to do more. I want our Congress to do more. But we've got to recognize that the stage that we're in right now, it is left to the states. And that's why I encourage people to go to StaceyAbrams.com to learn more about my plan to protect women in the state of Georgia.
Well, in more short term, do you think that the Senate should eliminate the filibuster to codify Roe versus Wade into law? Would you support that?
I would support lifting it for Roe v. Wade. I would support lifting it for voting rights. These are constitutional issues. I believe, and I've said this very consistently, that when we are talking about fundamental protections that should be accorded to every citizen in our country, then the filibuster is wrong. And we should suspend the filibuster with regards to voting rights, and we should suspend the filibuster with regards to making certain that we can protect the constitutional right to privacy and the ability of women to make choices for themselves and their bodies.
Do you think this ruling might help you defeat Governor Kemp in 2022?
I think this ruling puts into very sharp relief the difference between my candidacy and his reelection. Brian Kemp has shown himself again and again to have very little concern for the life and welfare of the women of Georgia. That is why he expanded access to permitless carry, to criminal carry, putting more guns on our streets when Georgia is number 9 for gun violence. He has done very little to support the lives of women by refusing to expand Medicaid. We know that Medicaid expansion is one of the best predictors for a healthy pregnancy, for women to be able to take care of themselves. And while they may point to what they're willing to do postpartum in terms of small expansion, if you really want to take care of women, if you really want to protect their lives, then you should expand access to Medicaid so they have access to health care throughout their lifetime. We know that Brian Kemp has shown that he does not care about the women of Georgia, about the families in Georgia, except when it is politically convenient. And so I believe that this is a sharp distinction between us, and I encourage every Georgian to pay attention.
Stacey Abrams, thanks so much for your time today.
Thanks for having me.